What's up everybody, Matt Maran here for another My Week With video. So this week I've been driving the 2025 Nissan Frontier PRO-4X, and so the Frontier gets a refresh for the 2025 model year, but mechanically it's all basically the same and there's not a ton of changes, but there are some really nice ones. But if you want to hear a full review on the Frontier, I will refer you to my review of the 2022 when this generation first debuted. I'll include a link to that video here at the end and an end card. You can hear all the details and all my thoughts on the Frontier. This video I'm mostly going to highlight, just the changes for 2025, the fuel economy that I got this week, and then also the pricing and how it compares to the competition these days. So as far as the changes here, on the outside for the 2025 Frontier, you get a new front bumper, there's a new grille there, and you can see it's also in this afterburn orange color, which is a new addition for 2025 as well, which I really love. It's such a fun color. I always applaud bright, fun colors on vehicles. You also get some new wheels, and this one has these optional beadlock style wheels. They're not actual beadlock capable, but just a fun look for the wheels and a new look there, a little bit 80s inspired in my opinion. And then out back there you have a new tailgate finisher, which is literally just like an add-on piece there, it looks like, but it does certainly look nice, especially with the orange backdrop here. Really pops and is a little bit of extra visual appeal than what we had before. And so that's basically all the changes on the outside. On the inside here though, I'd argue the change is even more substantial because we now have this massive 12.3 inch touchscreen here. In addition to offering wireless Apple CarPlay, it now finally does wireless Android Auto as well, which is something that previously you didn't have here with this big screen in the Nissans. And so now you have it, and again, this screen is just new for Frontier. We've seen it in other vehicles from Nissan, but it's new here in this. And it's a big screen, and you can tell that with the smaller dash of this vehicle, it honestly looks a little offset, and they wanted to put the big screen in. I'm glad they did, but it almost looks like it's too big for this interior in a way. It's really cool though. I like the new little Frontier badge you have underneath of it there as well. Very cool. Otherwise, I really like the orange accents this one has, and the orange stitching here on the Pro 4X version in particular. Other little interior changes, very slight, but you now have a telescopic steering wheel and a two-way lumbar support here as standard here in SV and higher, I believe they said. And other nice little improvements there for sure. But this interior, while we're on that topic, is starting to feel a little underwhelming. I mean, I guess you could argue it's been underwhelming for a while, and the screen certainly helps to give us the updated technology to make this competitive with everything else out there. But the switches, I mean, we still have like the heated seat switches, which there's nothing wrong with them. They're physical switches. And I do applaud that they kept the physical stuff and didn't try and save a few bucks by putting it into the touchscreen or anything. But, I just wish they'd spend a few dollars on some new switches. These switches have been around since probably, the past decade or longer. And again, nothing wrong with them. And especially truck buyers typically do prefer, the if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of mentality. So I can certainly, understand that and appreciate that. But, whenever you look at all the physical switches you get in all the other competing trucks, they're all newer, they're all just a little more modern feeling, maybe less rugged, I don't know, but, just for what is essentially the same price tag. I'll get into pricing in a few minutes here, but, same kind of price tag, it just seems like you get, a nicer interior in all the competitors these days for basically the same money. Two other notable changes though for 2025 are that you now have a higher towing capacity. I don't believe they said exactly why, but you now have a max tow rating of 7,150 pounds, which is an upgrade from, I believe it was like 6,720 or so before for its max tow rating. Again, other variations will be different. I think the Pro 4X here does a little bit less, but new Max Pro tow rating there, and just good that you have that improvement. You also now have the option for a 6-foot bed on all trims now. Previously that was only on certain trims, now it's on all of them, which is great. And that is one of the advantages here of the Frontier is, other than the Tacoma, the other two competitors, the Ranger and the Colorado, are only crew cab, only short box now. And it's great that Nissan and Toyota still continue to offer these variations for people who don't just want what is the most popular configuration, but for people who want the other configurations, it's great that you now have that available here more on these 2025s. But let's go for an acceleration here and try out this tried and true newer V6 engine here in the Frontier. Here we go. It's still a good strong, you know, runner. I mean, horsepower is still, you know, a little bit punchier than some of the other competitors. 310 horsepower, 278 pound-feet of torque here. And it's a 3.8 liter V6 engine, naturally aspirated, you know, nothing weird. You know, that's the thing. This is the last V6 option. All the other competitors have gone down to 4-cylinder turbos, or you can get a 6-cylinder turbo even in the Ranger. But, you know, for a lot of people, they're going to prefer this, even though this is down on torque by quite a bit. Most of the other competitors have over 300 pound-feet of torque, and in the Colorado, you have like 110 extra pound-feet of torque compared to this as standard now. So, yeah, this is certainly outgunned as far as torque, which is really what you feel for the most part, especially, you know, lower speeds. And so, you know, but for a lot of people, again, they miss the V6, they want the V6, and for that reason alone, I'm sure that sells a lot of Frontiers for Nissan. And, you know, I commend them for continuing to offer that, but, you know, they do, you know, lose some fuel economy as a result compared to those competitors. So let's get into my fuel economy here over the course of a week. So as far as how these are rated, they're rated by the EPA at 16 mpg in the city, 20 on the highway, and 18 combined. And that is several mpg lower than basically all of the other competitors. I think the only thing that matches this on fuel economy is the Ranger Raptor with way more power. And then with the Toyota Tacoma, whenever you go up to its more powerful versions, which are more expensive, but whenever you go up to those, I mean, those are going to, you know, do well into the 20s with their fuel economy since they're hybridized. And I'd say that those fuel economy estimates here for the Frontier are accurate. So around town, kind of suburban driving, which is basically all I did this week, I'm averaging 15.7 mpg. Now it is the winter time, and, you know, again, it is a little bit more of a longer warm-up period, and, you know, a little bit more idling, things like that. So we can round it up to 16. And then at 16, you know, we're hitting that city rating. And honestly, I do usually get 1 to 2 mpg less than the city rating in many of my vehicles, even, you know, in the middle of summertime, and especially in the winter here, I've been observing, you know, some larger fuel economy disparities, even, you know, beyond 1 to 2 mpg less for some vehicles. And so the fact that this is hitting its city rating in the middle of winter, I actually have to commend it for that, and that leads me to believe this could potentially overperform those estimates. And it also comes down to how you drive, obviously your conditions and all that as well play into that. Your mileage will always vary, but I think if you are someone who has a little more of a lead foot and you like getting into the turbo power you get from those competitors, that makes those engines thirsty as well. And you know, so you could see pretty similar fuel economy in the real world. Now, I will say I don't recall getting MPG this low ever in any of the other mid-sized trucks that I tested in the past few years here. Now, again, not all the same kind of driving. I think most of those I did a little bit more highway driving. So not an apples to apples comparison, but, you know, for just a V6, you know, small-ish truck to be only getting, you know, 16 mpg, a little disappointing. I mean, even, you know, large 3-row family crossovers, you know, are getting 18 mpg with all their mass and, you know, a brick-like aerodynamics and all that. So anyway, it is what it is. Just don't love, you know, the fuel economy performance here. And that is something that, you know, over the cost of a few years, if this does cost you more in gas, then any kind of potential savings you'd get with the Frontier would be wiped out by, you know, those extra fuel costs. But while we're talking about costs and pricing, let's get into the pricing for the 2025 Frontier, which unfortunately isn't quite as much of a bargain compared to its competitors as it used to be. So these start at about $33,500, and again, that is also, keep in mind, for a, you know, 2-door version, very, you know, much more basic kind of truck. And, you know, for this one as tested, we're just over $50,000 here. And at that price point, it is starting to become more of a challenge because, you know, as far as starting prices goes, even, this isn't the cheapest. You can actually get a Tacoma for about $500 less for its base trim, which also is a 2-door, you know, kind of configuration, the most comparable to this, you know, closely. And then, but even like a Ford Ranger is only about $1,000 more at a base price, with giving you, you know, the crew cab kind of configuration that would charge you, you know, more here in the Frontier. The biggest bargain in this segment actually right now is the Chevy Colorado. We only have pricing for 2024s for those still, even though I'm filming this video in the middle of February of 2025. I don't know what Chevy's doing, but we don't have 2025 pricing, at least on their configurator site yet. But For 2024, there was like a $2,000 cheaper starting price for Colorado versus this. That's still going to be the bargain of the group. That also does give you that crew cab configuration with that as well. So I mean, it's just the Colorado, again, we will see what 2025 pricing is. I'd be surprised if it jumps $2,000, and as long as it undercuts this, to me, that is going to be the bargain winner, on the low end of the spectrum. But even once we go up to the higher end of the spectrum, again, 2025 pricing might rise a little bit here for Colorado, but you can get like the Trail Boss version of that, which is pretty comparable to this. Now, it's a little cheaper inside. There's not as many ways to upgrade that to some of the nicer stuff you have here in this, but those are still only like $42,000, even trying to load it up to be comparable to this. And then you look at even like Colorado for the ZR2 version with Multimatic shocks, the 33-inch tires, like a real off-road thing. This is, still just more in line with like the average little off-the-shelf off-road package you get with the other competitors. But a full-blown ZR2 with those fancy dampers, and again, all that extra power, all the extra capability, that fancier suspension, and just so many more reinforcements to make it a true impressive off-roader. That's $52,000. It's basically like $1,500 extra. Again, 2025 maybe more, but even if it's $2,000 more, I'd argue if you actually care about off-road capability, easy choice there. Easy choice. And so kind of washes away any kind of value you would have here with Frontier. Now, the other competitors, the Ranger and the Tacoma, aren't quite as strong of a value standpoint compared to this, but they are also, coming in right in line with this. And so, you look at, for example, the Ranger, like I said, $1,000 more to start, but it gives you that big screen as standard, gives you, the crew cab configuration as standard. But then when even you go up to like a Ranger with the FX4 off-road package, which again, very similar to this. Now, I'd say the Ranger is a little less aggressive looking with the off-roady thing, so, it's not quite as fun, I would say, but the Ranger is, I think, like $300 more, and again, gives you more torque. You do have less horsepower, so, the Frontier does have that going for it, but, you have more torque there in the Ranger, and, another big screen, and it's actually a new generation with the Ranger, so all the, switch gear feels newer. You have a little bit more space, too. I think this back seat is probably one of the tightest ones, as far as crew cabs go, and personally, just the road manners also in Ranger were better, in my opinion. All the driving stuff is more modern feeling. This has, still a really heavy steering, and, just feels a little more old-fashioned because this is still a heavily revised version of the prior generation truck, and so it doesn't feel quite as fresh and new as some of those truly new generation vehicles in all the ways. But so I really like the Ranger. I spent a week with one of those about a year or so ago. Really liked it, and that would be one of my favorites in this segment, I think, because the Colorado, even though it has a very impressive value proposition, the one thing I didn't love about that was that the infotainment system was a little slow and a little buggy at times, and also the headlight controls for the Colorado are in the screen. There's no physical controls for that anymore. Not a huge deal, but little cost-cutting things that Chevy did. I mean, it paid off because they are the cheapest in the segment, but just there are some sacrifices there. So I think Ranger's kind of a nice happy medium. Same price as this, feels more modern, and is a really nice truck. Then the last one is Tacoma, which, like I said, the Toyota Tacoma comes in about $500 less than this to start. Now, Toyota does kind of cheapen out, with those lower trims a little bit more, I think, than Nissan does. But, just if you want the base bare bones truck, just know that the Tacoma is cheaper. Now, whenever you go up to a comparable version of this, which in my opinion would be a TRD off-road premium, that does again give you more torque than this, and a little bit less horsepower admittedly in the Tacoma, but the Tacoma with that premium package does give you ventilated seats as well, which are very nice to have, especially if you live in a place that gets pretty hot in the summer. It's great, and that's something that none of the other competitors, by the way, even offer. So Tacoma really leads on features. Tacoma also has the biggest screen. It's a huge 14-inch touchscreen. Maybe for some people it'll be overboard or something, but it's very easy to navigate. Nice large graphics and icons, and very easy to operate. And the Tacoma is really nice. And again, that's an all new generation vehicle. Tacoma also typically has the highest resale value, compared to all the other trucks. And Toyota's reputation for long-term reliability is also very solid too. But you pay for all that stuff. And the Tacoma, comparably equipped, is about $53,500 or so, so a little bit pricier than this. Again, the argument could be made between the gas savings and the higher residual, value of the Tacoma. that maybe paying a little bit more up front in the long term could be worth it, especially if you do plan to flip it in a few years, or even if you keep it for the long haul, again, with that better fuel economy. It all comes down to personal preference and all that. And it is also worth noting that with the Pro-4X here, they do start about $5,000 less. You can get one for about $45,000. This one just has this convenience package and also like this premium package, which further jazzes it up and makes it a little bit nicer here. And that convenience package, for example, gives you the 360 camera, it gives you the heated seats, the heated steering wheel, the wireless charging pad. Some really nice features there, but they do cost you a couple $1,000s there. And then for that premium package, that's how you get this Fender 10-speaker stereo, the leather seats, the sunroof, and the navigation system for anyone that wants to use that. But that is, honestly, it feels pretty dated as well, as does the 360 camera. Now, they did improve the 360 camera this year by making it so that it works at higher speeds when you're off-roading, so that's nice, but it's still just so low resolution that compared to, again, those cameras that you get in the TRD off-road, for example, from Toyota, I mean, those are way more high resolution. It's on a bigger display, way more little widgets and stuff that it has as well. So it's nice that they've improved that a little bit, but still just so low resolution and just clearly, again, behind the competition. And so I think that's my biggest problem with the Frontier, is that it just feels a little tighter in here, a little cheaper in here. The tech isn't quite as impressive, I'd say, in many ways, but it has caught up a decent amount. And so, all that stuff would be fine if it came at a discount, except that it doesn't really come at a discount anymore. And so this really seems like it's leaning into the traditionalists that just have to have a V6 and don't care about all the other compromises. If that's you, totally understand that. But for everyone else that is open to a turbo 4-cylinder, I mean, they're punchier around town. In many cases, they do just more output as well as far as, their horsepower and torque. I don't see the appeal. I would go for any one of the competitors before I would go for this. Now, it's possible that at the dealership, you might get more of a discount on this versus the competitors. I'd say also, especially Tacoma, a little bit more popular and a little hotter. And so, maybe not as much of a discount on that one in particular. So, your real world value proposition will vary. I have to judge it based off MSRP, and Nissan just unfortunately priced this a little too high in my opinion. But, if the dealer is willing to give you a bigger discount on this versus the competitors, then that changes the value equation. Maybe there would become a point where, this does make more sense because there is a significant savings. And if that's the case, by all means, I still really like the Frontier in a vacuum. It's fun. It's kind of got that old school kind of vibe to it that I think a lot of people would really enjoy in these days of everything modernizing and changing. This hasn't changed too much, I think, and I think that is a strength if you are someone that finds yourself drawn to that kind of mentality for trucks. And if you do want to get the best deal possible on a Frontier, you're definitely going to want to head to mattmotoring.com. There you'll be able to get access to dealer invoice pricing, as well as getting connected with a dealer to check one of these out in person for yourself and see what you think about the Frontier and how it compares to its competitors. There'll be a link in the description as well as a link in a pinned comment where you can go and get connected to a dealer and check one of these out in person for yourself. Anyway, overall, yeah, still, think it's great we have these improvements for 2025. It makes the Frontier more, better than it ever has been as far as its impressiveness and, its competitiveness compared to those others out there. But just, wish they would fix the pricing a little bit. But anyway, that's all of my thoughts here on the 2025 Frontier. Let me know your thoughts on it in the comments below. Huge thanks to Nissan for providing me here with this vehicle to review for you guys today. Yeah, thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.